thank you for doing this with me. I'm much appreciated.
Thank you.
Whereabouts in Australia are you?
I'm in a place called the Mornington Peninsula, which is about an hour and a half south of Melbourne.
Ah, and how's the COVID virus situation over there?
Well, you know, we're behind you, but we've just had, I live in Victoria, and we've just had, I don't know, the last 4 or 5 days, there've just been this increase in cases. We've got some 5 or 6 suburban hotspots. I don't live in one of them.
Right, that's good.
So that's been caused, they think by the end of Ramadan, a lot of people, because they've been fasting for however long they fast, 40 days, 40 nights, whatever it is, a month. They all went out and all went around to their different families, so that didn't help them. They went out shopping, and also what they've done here is they've really amped up the amount of testing. So they're using a saliva swab, which is apparently less invasive, much easier to do, much quicker.
Yeah.
So they're trying to test actually every single person in these suburban hotspots. So obviously you do a great deal of testing, you're going to find more cases.
That's what, yep.
So
that's
what it is. So, you know, I'm at the point, at what cost? I mean, something that affects less than 1% of the population is ruining at least 65% of people's lives. So
yeah, it is pretty horrible. So what have you been doing during the time?
I do some exercise once a day. I go for a run or go for a swim or something. And I've been writing stuff. I've been cooking a bit. I've been reading lots. I've been exhausting my Netflix thing. You know? I think what everyone's doing.
Yeah, same thing everybody's doing. Is absolutely a lot of cooking going on. A lot of cooking. It's very good.
Yeah, a lot of cooking.
So, and then in the middle of all this, you're releasing your first album in 8 years or something?
Yeah, I had an EP out about 4 years ago, but this is the first real album for about 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you feeling about that?
I feel fairly good about it. I think it's an okay record. I think it's a good record, and it'll come out. And often, you know, New Zealand tends to be a bit more open than Australia, but I'm not unrealistic to think that someone like me who's been doing this for a while, radio is not going to suddenly play something like anything. Look, wonders will never cease, but I don't think the radio is going to play something at high rotation from this.
Right. I mean, it does sound to me, I'm an older guy as well, it sounds very radio friendly, but a different radio maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, well, commercial pop radio is not going to play me, and I'm not their person. You know, I'm not that. Their audience is not. They're not aiming me at their audience. No.
Yeah. So, with that in mind, what makes you keep writing songs and recording them? Because you kind of admit that you're not going to be at the top of the charts at this point.
Yeah, look, because I do it. I mean, I'm always tinkering with some song or another. It's just what I do. What I've always done. I like doing it. I get satisfaction out of doing it. It's a good creative outlet for me. I like the writing of them. When I finish a song, it gives me satisfaction. I like the recording of them, and I think it also helps. It raises your profile a bit just by having a new record out. So it just keeps you out there in the marketplace, so to speak. Even though we do a lot of touring when we're not in lockdown.
And when you are touring, are they open to listening to new stuff?
Yeah, look, mostly I would play songs that everybody knows, but I will always throw in 1 or 2 new ones. I'll always, I'll find a spot sort of 2/3 of the way into the set where I'll put, 3 old ones, new one, 3 old ones. You bookend them with a lot of
yeah.
And before they know it, the new ones slip by, and they think, oh, I like that. They don't, they sort of fool them into the fact you've listened to a new song.
Right. Now, in the press stuff that I got, they're making a big deal about the fact that this is the 40th anniversary of the release of the Boys' Light Up album by Australian Crawl. And I was looking, because you can see I got a few records behind me.
I can see that. Amazing. Very impressive.
And I'm American, obviously, and so the records are from there. I used to work at a radio station. So I was trying to see what I had. I've got this one.
Oh, okay.
And that one.
That one, right?
But not that one.
You've got something.
Yeah. Because, I mean, let's face it, Australian Crawl weren't the biggest band in the States when you guys were doing your thing. Do you have any recollections? Did you guys tour there? Did you try and make it?
We never toured. What we did with that Semantics record that you've got, I don't know if that's an EP or an actual album. I don't know how many songs are on it.
Yep, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Okay. So that album we made with, we recorded it in Sydney, but then we mixed it in New York. Neil Dorfman mixed it, who'd just done Bruce Springsteen stuff. And that was that was an album where we had 4 new songs, and we re-recorded, I think, 6 or 7 Australian crawl songs that have been well known. So we re-recorded those.
Yeah.
And because we could play much better. So, and we mixed it with Neil in New York, and we were signed directly to Geffen Records. So and I remember that period as going, Brad Robinson, who's in the band, and I went over to America to meet. And we had these meetings with managers, potential managers. And I remember we met David Geffen. We went to David Geffen's office and met David. And then we had these meetings with these managers. We had one with Freddie, a guy called Freddie DeMann, who at the time said, I've got this new girl I've signed. She's going to be huge. And gave us a record to play. And we took it back to where we were staying and played it. And I remember I specifically was going, oh, my God, this is just rubbish. This girl's never going to get anywhere. That's terrible. It was Madonna.
Of course.
And then we had a meeting with Elliot Roberts, because he managed a lot of the bands that I was big fans with. You know, the Eagles,
Neil Young, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Neil Young, Jackson Browne, etc. And then we went to New York and had a meeting with a guy called Tommy Mottola.
Oh yeah.
And Tommy was managing Hall and Oates at that time, and he was lovely. Tommy, for all intents, sort of became our manager. But then I don't know what happened. Nothing happened. It just came out and went. We're going to go on this tour with Wang Chung and King Crimson, the 3 of us. We're going to go this tour. This is the weirdest collection. So they had these big plans, and then I don't know. It all just stopped. The phones just stopped ringing, and so we all went back to America, and I went back to Australia, made another record, and split up.
Wang Chung and King Crimson.
Wang Chung, King Crimson, and us, because we did a tour with Duran Duran all through England and Scotland and Wales. Because they came out to Australia. They were recording in Australia, and we got to know them just purely by chance. They signed the same record company. And I ran into John Taylor in the record company and just started chatting to him. We sort of became friends. Right. And John, we had a song called Reckless that was a big hit at the time. And John liked the song. He said, you guys should come and tour England with us.
It's right on this record.
So we went. That's our new romantic picture. We took that in England after we toured with Duran Duran. So the fashion is new romantic. We better try and look a bit new romantic. So it's tragic, really. So we toured with them, and that's what and Geffen. So we had these tours, and Geffen was interested, but anyway, nothing happened from it.
Right. Did you get to spend any time with Robert Fripp?
No, we never met him. Never met him.
Really?
This was mooted. It was mooted. When this album comes out, we're going to have them, Wang Chung, and King Crimson on the road. Right. But never met Wang Chung or King Crimson.
That's outrageous. So let's talk about the new album, since we're reminiscing and blah, blah, blah. We'll move on to it's called Toon Town Lullaby. And for folks who may not be aware, give me a lowdown on what the significance of the title is. Okay, so Toon Town Lullaby is the first line of the first song, and Toon Town is a song I wrote. I went to Nashville over a year ago to do some songwriting for other people, and Nashville's now sort of the center of not just country songwriters but pop songwriters. I think probably know, a lot of people get there. It's a real center, and they call themselves Nashville calls itself Music City. Yes. So I look at it as a little bit of a cartoon town, and so it's Toon Town and cartoon, and also Toon Town, as the Americans say. And so I had that idea, and I was listening to stuff and reading a book about a guy called Blaze Foley, who was an American songwriter, and he was murdered by his brother-in-law for $100, and his brother-in-law's name was Carey January. So I thought what a word that can sing. So I had this song Toon Town Lullaby, and then Carey January talking about him shooting Blaze Foley. And then another expression I heard, it's very American, was I'm going to kick some tires, light some fires, and punch a hole in the sky, which is what the Top Gun guys, I think, used to probably say before they gunned their engines. So I just have these phrases and these ideas. So that's where the songs like that started. Interesting. Fantastic. How would you say overall the sound of this album compares to what you've done in the past? I mean, to me, it sounds pretty much like what you would expect, which is a good thing. I mean, you don't want to throw any curves at anybody at this point in your career. Thanks. Do you think about that? I try to make the records I like to. I mean, I like the sort of sound. I like guitars. I like to have. Yeah. I like to have organic kind of sounds on there. I like electric guitars, obviously, and I like beautiful electric guitar sounds. I like acoustic guitars. I like the sound of wood and strings and all that stuff. So
It's got drums and bass. So my records always have that kind of sound, and I'm sort of like it, you know. I'm trying to think of the right phrase, you know, Americana-y kind of country music.
Right.
I always
Well,
have. So it's always got bits of that in it.
yeah, I was going to say there is an American kind of. I mean, you have a song called "Calamity Jane," which is an American, blah blah blah, and you kind of refer to the land of milk and honey, which I'm assuming you're referring to Australia, but being American, I recognize that term as well for what we used back there. Yeah.
Sure. Land of Milk and Honey is referring to Australia, but's a very American term. I've got a song on there called Little Old Town South of Bakersfield.
Right. There you go.
Los Angeles.
Yeah.
As the Bakersfield people call LA. And that's about me when I lived in Los Angeles on and off about 6 or 7 years in the late 80s, early 90s. So it's kind of talking about me not recognizing golden opportunities, I think, when I was there, with the benefit of hindsight going, oh, that was probably an opportunity now I think about it. I blew it. So that's kind of a song about that. So there's a lot of American reference in there, and I've always been enamored with American music and American culture, you know, pop culture. I've always been a big fan of it and always liked it.
Right. And speaking of Bakersfield, I mean, the Bakersfield sound is, you know, Buck Owens and all that. Is that something that you paid attention to at the time?
I paid attention to it at the time when I was living there. I made a video once in Bakersfield, and I quite liked Bakersfield. I liked the sort of kind of Bakersfield Americanness, edge of the deserty kind of thing that it had, you know. And I like, you know, Buck Owens, Merle Haggard, kind of the Bakersfield sound, that twangy kind of thing that came out of there. So I've always been a bit of a fan of just music, of American music and American pop culture.
And I know that Australia has a different relationship to the U.S. than, say, New Zealand here does. And with all the stuff that's going on now over there, I'm wondering how that reflects upon you guys in Australia. Do you have any comment about it?
Do you mean what, COVID or Trump or?
Yeah, and the Black Lives Matter. I mean, the whole
Black
thing, it's all kind of swelling into one thing, it seems like now.
It is, and it looks a little bit like, you know, parts of it I'm thinking look a little bit like a third world country at the moment. I think what's happening, some of the schisms in the schisms in the some of the breaks in the society, it's incredible. And I think, you know, America's love affair with gun ownership is a big thing, and that leads to also look, it's from here, and I know you're an American, and I have great.
You're not going to offend me, I guarantee you.
No, but American culture, I've grown up with American culture and loved film and music. I mean, where would we be without blues and jazz? There would be no popular Western popular music. There just would not exist. And the Americans, you know, African Americans invented it. And without them inventing this form of music, we wouldn't have anything. There wouldn't be anything like pop or rock and roll or anything. And I've always loved the culture, the pop culture, you know, and I'm a big fan of writers like, you know, Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett and all these sort of people. I've been a big fan, and Hemingway. So, but I think what's happening now, from this point of view, it looks like a mess. Yeah. How? I know why Donald Trump has I know the kind of supporters he has, but it astounds me. I think it astounds everybody that that's what he gets away with. I can't believe it. Just even what comes out of his mouth on a daily basis. Yeah,
it's very strange. And I mean, I remember when he got elected, the night that he got elected, we had a party back here, you know, a bunch of Americans and some other people, and we just couldn't believe that this has actually happened, you know. People were in tears. It was incredible. And to see where it's taken, you know, no surprises as to what's happened since then, you know. I mean, you can see it coming.
That's right, except he's just made things worse. I mean, he hasn't even capitalized on the things he could, you know.
Yeah.
It's just a mess.
Yeah. Oh, back to the album. Is there a track that stands out for you that you particularly feel fond of?
I like a few of them. I quite like the idea of, there's a song in there called Trying to Write a Love Song, and it sounds like a kind of naff title, but I've tried to make sure it's not in how I've written the song. So I have had people, mainly women I know, say to me, why don't you ever write a love song? I said, well, I can't. I just don't know how to. And a lot of other people do it a lot better than I do. So I wrote a little song about a guy trying to write a love song, as if he's sitting in some motel and there's a couple next door and they're being very noisy. And then I you know, and then I like a lot of the songwriters I like Randy Newman and people like that, who's something I'm a huge fan. They give these things a twist. There's a little twist at the end. So I tried to give a little twist at the end. So I set out to do something, and I think I sort of accomplished it. Whereas I think the last song on the album, called Wrong Guy, Wrong Room, Wrong Night, I don't think I accomplished it. I don't think that makes it, you know.
Right.
So I think I can be fairly objective about some of these songs, but I quite like that one. I like a few of them. I like Low Hanging Fruit. I don't mind.
Well, you mentioned Randy Newman, and to me, there was a line in You're Trying to Write a Love Song that reminded me of Paul Simon. You know, the couple in the next room going at it all night long. Or what?
Correct.
And
I had that line in my head when and using Muswell Brook, because Steely Dan used Muswell Brook. So
right.
I'm always referencing something, you know. That's why I purposely put probably the couple in the next room. Probably came straight from Paul Simon. Couple in the next room, Bound to Win a Prize, I think is what he writes.
Yeah, but I like the way you wrote. It sounds like they do their own stunts.
Yeah, and that's what chandeliers are for. They're swinging from the chandeliers. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks.
Very good. So, is there a band playing with you on this? What were the circumstances in the recording of it?
So I recorded with a guy called Dorian West. He has a studio in his house. He's very talented. So between Dorian and myself, we played all the instruments except for the drums. And a guy called John Watson, who's played drums with me for forever and ever, he came in and played the drums on 8 of the 10 songs, I think.
And so what's the relationship with you and Dorian? Why is it that you guys work together so well?
I knew Dorian through friends of mine knew Dorian, and we were always singing his praise, saying, "Oh, you should work with Dorian, you should work with Dorian." And Dorian works with a lot of people. He's a very busy man. And it was last year that was an Australian film made called Palm Beach. And I knew some of the people in it, and I knew the people producing it, and they needed a song. The basic premise of the film is that 5 or 6 older people get together in this beautiful house in Palm Beach, which is a suburb north of Sydney. Mm-hmm. And they've all made, one of them, this guy's made some money, but they all used to be in a band. They were in a one-hit wonder band in the late 70s with a song called Fearless. And they needed a song. And the guy that wrote the song in the film has sold the rights of the song to an incontinence company. So he breaks this news to the members of the band who are gathering together to kind of relive old days. And he breaks this news to them because he was broke. So, and that's, it's all that friendship and betrayal and blah, blah, blah. So They needed a song that sounded like a one-hit wonder that you could use as an incontinence commercial. So they asked me to write one. That's my theory. Who do we get to write an incontinence commercial? James. No, I knew them. I knew the people. So they asked me. I knew them. I knew the director and the producers and some of the people in it.
Do you watch many music-related films, things about bands? And
I watched quite a lot of documentaries about them, depending on the band. But and I've watched a few. I liked Rocket Man.
Right.
I liked that. I didn't like the Queen one. I thought that was terrible. Yeah. Everyone else did a loving it. It's terrible. Anyway, but the Rocket Man was good.
Well, the thing about Rocket Man, or no, the Queen one, they just got stuff wrong. I mean, and for no apparent reason, they were just making stuff up, and it's coming across as a documentary. It was kind of shady. Yeah. But you just sit there and just slap your head during the whole thing.
Guys, it's full of cliches, and you think that these people were in a band. They know that that's not how it is backstage. For instance. Roadies doing lines of coke on the road cases while groupies, so-called, sit around. That doesn't happen. Doesn't happen anymore.
No, that's for sure. So speaking of the road, are you able to play yet, or do you have to wait for things to calm down?
We've got to wait. We're miles behind you, New Zealand. We've got, and in Victoria, we're behind the rest of the country. So look, at the end of the year, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I can't. No one can tell. We just got to wait for the government to tell us, and then they'll do this first step of these. They might let 100 people in a place, and then the next step they might let 200 in, and then once they start doing 2 to 3, we can probably start doing some small acoustic shows, maybe.
Yeah.
But everyone's just waiting. Everyone's just treading water.
That drive you crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, in an ideal world, would you be out there with a band and playing these songs, or was it? Yeah.
I will be out there. We do lots of shows. I've got a great band, and we would be doing our shows and throwing a few of these new songs in. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I assume that the people that come out to you are long-term fans, probably folks of our age.
Our age, but also younger. I've noticed recently, the last few years, a lot of young guys. I don't know why, but young men are coming. I think they like the band, and they've obviously listened to their parents' records, I guess. And I've noticed quite a few of them. They all seem to be down the front watching the guitar players. You know, they're watching, watching every lick.
Right.
But I'm lucky. I'm very lucky in this country to be able to work at the level I work at. You know, we do play to really good crowds and big crowds, and it works well. I mean, when we're allowed to get out there and do it.
Yeah, yeah. And hopefully they're going to open up the bubble so that we can go back and forth between Australia and New Zealand. So it should be happening sometimes relatively soon.
Yes, it should. And I think that'd be nice because I don't think either of us countries are going to see too many overseas acts for at least another year or more.
No,
but that's fine. It only
not.
helps the local industry. It's good for local industry.
Yeah. No, it's been good here because, like you said, we started where you could only have like 50 people or 100 people, but that only lasted for like a week or two, and now we're kind of wide open. It's just that, you know, we don't have many acts that can fill up a stadium of 10,000 people. You know, it's.
So can you do stadiums? Can you?
We can, but
wow.
We have our first show at the Power Station. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's just around the corner from me here. And that holds about 1,000. That's happening next week, so I'm looking forward to that.
Wow. Oh, great. Yeah. Oh, it's encouraging. It's encouraging. If you're doing it, then we can't be that far behind.
Let's hope not. All right.
No.
Well, hopefully you'll get out on the road somehow soon.
Absolutely.
Good luck with the record. I really enjoyed it. I think folks who are familiar with what you do should just lock right in it. So should be a no-brainer.
Thank you very much. I
My
appreciate
pleasure.
it. Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thanks. Same to you. Bye.
Bye-bye.